Mr. Golden, as the Spiders head into this busy stretch of, I think it's 4 games in 9 days, can you discuss perhaps what you won't do that you ordinarily do during the season? Maybe get off your feet more, watch more video rather than practice. I don't know. What might you do personally?
Certainly, you want to try and stay in your routine as much as possible, whether that's getting shots up, doing whatever it is, you may do the days in between games, but with that many games in that many days, it's tough, especially for, the guys that are playing a lot of minutes. You certainly want to try and stay off your feet. There's never such a thing such as too much treatment. So try and get in there as much as possible. But definitely an emphasis on those things and taking care of your body, because that's the most important thing when you have a stretch like that.
Venture up close and personal last year. It's the same group of guys. Impressions of the line?
Good team, obviously. Really good team, really talented. Their starting 5 who plays the majority of the minutes for them. Obviously, a lot of experience, a lot of really good wins under their belt. And they played in a lot of different environments just like us. So, they certainly have a lot of plays on offense and do a lot of different things really well. And it's going to be a tough game for sure. And we're going to make sure that we're prepared.
I can get back to that busy stretch. I know you take them one at a time, so I'll ask it this way. If theoretically you had to play the same opponent twice in a 3-day period, what would be the challenges and the interesting ins and outs of that sort of experience?
Certainly something different. I think honestly, it's just making sure, especially with only a day in between, making sure that you really just focus on the adjustments that you need to make going into the second game. I think when you're playing 2 games in 3 days against the same opponent, it's more about what adjustments you can make watching the film more so than it is actually getting back on the court in between those days, and sort of doing like a full practice. So I know our coaches will do a good job of handling, they'll have us ready to go.
And whistles attached to this St. Bonaventure Richmond game 4 months ago when the preseason poll came out. I wonder how you feel about it now and where the Spiders are.
We feel the same about it. They're a really good team. We're a really good team. We feel like, we're one of the best teams in the conference. Regardless of what our record is, we're coming in and with the same mindset. We know that they're going to be ready to come in ready and come in prepared. Like I said, they do a lot of things on offense really well and have a lot of sets that they run. So it's certainly a hard team to prepare for. But, regardless of where each team is at record wise, we feel the same about it and we're excited for it.
If you were to compare preparing for Duquesne, where you really didn't know any of those guys, they were all new, and preparing for St. Bonaventure, where you're pretty damn familiar with these guys, what would the ins and outs of that be like?
Certainly 2 different preparations, like you said, but I think the biggest thing for Bonaventure is really they just have such a huge offensive playbook. Going into the Duquesne game, like you said, we didn't really know many of the guys. They have pretty much a whole new slate of guys playing except for 1 or 2. So I think the biggest thing for them was just sort of being able to watch the film and sort of just get anything that you can in terms of what they've shown in their game so far this year. In terms of Bonaventure, we know what each guy can bring to the table. We've seen them enough. And it's really just being on top of their sets and trying to prepare as much as possible for the plays that they're going to run.
Thanks for coming, Coach Mooney. I wonder if you could update us on Connor Crabtree and Jai Bailey. Is there a chance that they can participate tomorrow?
Connor, yes. Feel like Connor worked out yesterday, more of a lighter workout. We expect him to practice today. So I'll know better after, but right now we would plan on him being available to play. Jai, not yet. He's still in the midst of rehab. And I think originally when it originally happened, it was somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. So I think we're getting closer, but we're not quite there.
As the Spiders head into this busy stretch, you spoke briefly after Tuesday's win about how you might approach it. Could you expand a little bit more about that? And perhaps in some ways, is it an advantage for Richmond in any way? We got days here.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I guess depends who the opponent is and how those teams match up and, what their previous days have been like, whether it's an advantage. One thing that could be advantageous is having older players and probably not needing as much instruction time in practice, being able to touch on things or talk about things at the in the film room or the chalkboard, and being able to implement those things a little bit more easily than maybe a younger team. So that could be advantageous. It's still a difficult stretch. Now the travel isn't bad at all, but it's still a pretty demanding stretch.
Your impressions of the Bonnies? Obviously unanimous preseason favorite in the league. Probably hasn't all gone as planned, but they're not having a poor season by any means.
No, really good team. Obviously they really, really play those five guys a lot, and but they should. They're very good players. They're experienced. The first four guys are pretty interchangeable. And then Oshuni is a difference maker in our league in terms of his ability to block shots, rebound, run. Really good team. Obviously a great coach, great program. And they can, they're competitive and tough minded. What they lack in overall size, they make up for in their athleticism and competitiveness to the ball.
Thank you.
Grant talked about knowing their guys, but they have so many sets that they run with that it kind of balances each other out. Can you kind of give a narrative on how that will be game planned?
Yeah, they really do. They have a pretty extensive playbook. They do a lot of things that look the same at the beginning part of the play, and then suddenly can be a little bit different. And it's impressive how precise they can be having so many plays. So I think, personnel is always a little bit more important than plays, but their playbook is pretty extensive. And for us, it's going to be very important to be aware of those plays and then who you're guarding within those plays, which guys are coming off for shots and which guys are really coming off to get the ball, to try to drive the ball, because they're a pretty aggressive team who really goes to the basket hard. And I think that's the way we're looking at it. That's probably the most important part, is who are you guarding within those sets?
Forgive me for peeking ahead a bit. Theoretically, you had a remodeled schedule that had you playing the same team twice in 3 days. Would that be interesting to you and fun, or a pain in the neck, or something in between?
We'll see. Yeah, in a way, it's so different. I think we're going to try to treat it like, because the guys follow the NBA and NBA has back-to-back games like that. I think we're going to try to treat it like that. It's thinking about it a few weeks ago, and you think, well, maybe we'll hold back and not do this in that game and then try it in the second game. I don't think that'll actually really happen once you're in the game. I think you'll just be trying to win the game as much as you possibly can, and then you go up there and try to do the same thing. So, but yeah, I think from preparation standpoint and talking with the guys, I think we'll address it about how the NBA does these things, and this is what's important to them, and this is what they've said about it, and then proceed like that.
Is there something you could share that perhaps you've learned in your research about how NBA teams?
I have not learned that yet, John.
Chris's success on the road has been really good.
Yeah, I hope so. We've had tremendous crowds, and I see around the conference and the college basketball, that's not always the case. We've had tremendous crowds. That energy in the building has been great. We've lost two really heartbreaking games here. And so what's important is to concentrate and to use those same things that you do on the road, that you have to dig in a little bit deeper, concentrate a little bit more, or deal with an unlucky play or a bad call or something like that, a little bit better. Maybe apply some of those things to our game Friday and Monday, or games Friday and Monday. But that'd be the one thing I can think of. And just, you just have to play. You have to kind of take advantage of the home crowd as best you can.